We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break.
What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is another episode of Those Were the Days where I hand over the reins of NUFC Matters to Ward George, the one-eyed naval architect who's going to take us back to another season. And we're getting closer to the end of this, but it's been a fascinating ride. George, what season are we looking at today?
2021-2022.
Over to you, mate.
Thank you, Steve. To those watching, and I've been around a little while, supporting for over 70 years since I first seen my first game in 1944, and I really thought I'd seen it all, and the highs, the lows. We're always controversial, even when we're winning, when we're happy. The best example I use is the 1955 Cup final when we beat Manchester City. They bring the cup home for the third time in 4 years. And 2 weeks before that final, the directors decided to sack the manager, Doug Livingston. And why did he sack him? Because he wasn't going to play Jackie Milburn in the final. So player deputation led by Schooler, the captain, went to see the directors and said, "Hey, Jackie's got to be in this team." And so the only way they could get Livingston out of the way was to sack him. And that's what they did. The normal football clubs aren't like that, but Newcastle United are. This particular season is one of those seasons. The word iconic and unique are overused by people, but for me, as an aged supporter, this is an iconic season. Remember, we've had 18 months almost of an on-off takeover. Ashley finally agreeing to sell. On the way, he's upset everybody. got rid of one of the best managers in the world in Rafa. He's even upset war flags to the point where they're refusing to display because he wouldn't help them to put that stuff away. So it's the beginning of a fascinating season. But long last, he's willing to go. And in the background, of course, we have the English Premier League dragging their feet for best part of 18 months over something for most other clubs takes 7 or 8 weeks, not months, not 18 months, 7 or 8 weeks. But because it's Newcastle United and because it doesn't suit the red cartel, we're being treated differently. But the signs are at this point, and I still think in the background, the hint of legal action might have been flying around, which finally forced the issue. So this is where we begin in 21-22. Ashley is the owner until 7th of October. Lee Charnley is being installed as chairman, and the manager, of course, is Steve Bruce. And to say that the atmosphere in St James's was toxic is putting it mildly. I mean, remember that Ashley's getting crowds, but he's getting it slightly falsely because he was giving tickets away. He was giving tickets away to university students for next to nothing. He was selling people who had a season ticket for a while. He was selling them a second one for practically free. And some people took that up, and I don't blame them. So it's quite the hostile atmosphere to start any season. The other thing on my backs is that every pundit that's able to speak, even those that like me, even people like Jeff Stelling, who's basically a Northeast fan and certainly no enemy of Newcastle United, were saying that we're doomed. And that was before a ball was kicked. So here we go into 2021-22. Start off with our usual round of some of the strips I like that are on this season. We went to York City and managed to lose there. Doncaster Rovers managed to lose there. Drew with Rotherham. Beat Burton Albion. Lost at Burnley. And then beat Norwich just before the start of the season. And our first game was a home game against West Ham, and West Ham were the reverse to us. We were being tipped for nothing, where West Ham were being tipped as possibly one of the upper set in the Premiership this particular season. And so we went, and our team was Woodman, Murphy, Fernandez, Kraft, Clark, Ritchie, Hayden, Shelby, Almiron, San Maximum, and Callum Wilson. West Ham was Fabianski, Kufal, Dawson, Ogbonna, Cresswell, Rice, Suchek, Bowen, Berahama, Four Miles, and Antonio. People are, as always, most optimistic, and certainly this Newcastle supporter is always optimistic. And just the other day, somebody asked me if I ever forecast a defeat for Newcastle, and I couldn't remember a date. But yeah, we start the season as always optimistic and on the front foot, with this, particularly with the home game, and we can't say that the supporters aren't optimistic enough, because 51,000 of them turned up when just the season before the crowds were dropping below 40,000 because of the dislike of the atmosphere, dislike of the football Bruce was producing. So anyway, we went to West Ham, and it's a tidy game. We went to St James's for West Ham. It's a tidy game, and we get off to a good start. Callum Wilson scores a peach of a goal in 5 minutes, outruns the West Ham defence, and it's 1-0 in 5 minutes. In 18 minutes, Cresswell of West Ham scores a beautiful goal from a free kick, from a dead ball, and but it's an entertaining game. Both teams putting a lot into it. And on 40 minutes, Murphy from a pullback from a corner managed to hammer in a nice drive into the underneath Fabianski, and then to make Newcastle 2-1 in the lead at half time. And second half, the game's quite exciting and end-to-end stuff. Behrama on 53 minutes equalises from a scramble in the box from a free kick that went wrong, but it bounced around like a pinball and reached him, and then he planted it in the bottom of the corner past Freddie Woodman. And then on 63 minutes, Soucek broke from the back and scored a peach of a goal to make it 3-2 to West Ham. And at this period, West Ham just taken over. They were giving us the runaround, no question about that. Made life difficult for all the respects. And Antonio, the big centre forward, was creating mayhem. And no surprise on 66 minutes when he made it 4. So 4-2 down. We struggled and huffed and puffed, but there was no way we were going to make an impression against West Ham. So we had to accept that the 4-2 defeat was one which was ours to take. And I've got to say, having been at the match, it was no surprise. West Ham were far and away the best team. The commentary of these things that I pick up, there's always a commentary about the referee and about different things, the weather sometimes. The commentary about Martin Atkinson, who was the referee, was a particularly bad day for the Yorkshire Whistler. He managed to change his mind more than once after his linesman had flagged, and how Declan Rice wasn't booked for siving down San Maximum. Only the referee knows. Maybe the pantomime of removing strapping round his shin pads performed by Rice after the challenge really did distract Atkinson. The referee was something of a challenge that I do remember, and the challenge by Rice was particularly bad. And I think other than that, commentator wondered if the way that Rice performed afterwards saved him from a booking, but it shouldn't have done. So anyway, that's the first game, a home game. Next, we're away to Aston Villa, and Villa again, a team that's touted to be on the up, exactly the opposite to ourselves. We go with the same team, no changes, despite the fact that we've had a loss, and Aston Villa have got Martinez, Cash, Young, Mings, Cosner, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Ramsey, Bonadina, Ghazi, and Ings. El Ghazi and Ings, who they bought from Southampton. And as I say, Aston Villa, a team that's being talked about as on the up, possible European Cup contenders for a place of European Cup. And so with some trepidation, off we go to Villa Park. First half is even Steven. It's looks like it's going to get a 0-0 for half time. Then lo and behold, just on the almost the last kick of the half, Ings manages to elude the defence and gets a near post header past Woodman, and it's on 48 minutes, which is right 3 minutes extra at half time. We're 1-0 down at half time. Second half is similar. We give as good as we get and press when we can. Both goalkeepers doing their jobs, but it looked like nobody was going to score again. But then a really slack tackle by Fernandez on Ings, and Villa get a penalty on 62 minutes. El Ghazi takes the penalty with no problem. So it's 2-0 to Villa. we don't look like we're going to get back in this game. We've matched them in some areas, but we're just not got the energy to keep up with Villa in this game. So 2-0 is more than a fair result if to the bystander, to the independent bystander, but a worrying one for us because we really didn't look up to it in the second half. The referee, a gentleman called David Coote, who's suddenly famous for something quite different other than football. So we then come home to a League Cup round 2 game against Burnley, and we hopefully would like to make progress, but League Cup's never been our forte, unfortunately, and we come home with slight changes in the team: Woodman, Maniquino, Lewis, Kraft, Lascelles, Clark, Hendrick, Sean Longstaff, Gale, Fraser and Joe Linton. And Burnley have Hennessy, Bardsley, Peters, Collins, me, Lennon, Brownhill, Cork, McNeil, Wood and Rodriguez. And it's dull fare, I'm afraid, is a way to describe it. Very dull. There's not a lot of action in either penalty area. Neither goalkeepers need to worry about dirtying their gloves because the ball hardly ever goes their way. And it just has that awful sinking feeling of a 0-0 from almost the first ball was kicked. And that's how it went. 0-0 at half time. No improvement afterwards, after the half time, still 0-0. And of course, we ended up with nothing to for anybody they're excited about except the penalty shootout. And we, with trepidation, Newcastle United at this time of our life, we couldn't win a penalty shootout for Toffee, and this is another one, 4-3 to Burnley, and we're our sojourn into the League Cup is over very quickly. But what a dismal game really was. There was some really appalling stuff that day, and I remember it being. I've seen 0-0s where it's been quite exciting because there's been lots of near misses and all the rest of it, but not in that one. It really was turgid. It really was poor stuff. We're home again fairly shortly. That was on the Wednesday, and on the following Saturday we're home again to Southampton in the league. Now Southampton, or should be a team that we're up with because they're like us, are one of the teams that's being tipped for not surviving the league, and so we have back to what looks like a more recognisable first team: Woodman, Murphy, Ritchie, Shaw, Lascelles, Fernandez, Sean Longstaff, Willock, Wilson, Almiron, and San Maximum. And Southampton of McCarthy. Livramento is a name that we know, being introduced as a young fullback by Southampton. Walker Peters, Stevens, Salisu, Eli Musi, Ward-Prowse, Romanu, DiGenpo, Adams, and Armstrong. And they've been getting a good press on the style of football they've been playing, but unfortunately Southampton are prone to let in goals, which seems to be our wound at the moment as well. So anyway, the game kicks off quite brightly, but first half, neither goals really threatened. There's certainly nothing that looks like it's going into the net, and both goalkeepers could hardly have worked up a sweat. It's so quiet. It's entirely a midfield battle with both midfields hogging the ball all the time without making progress towards the goal. As we come back after half time, Newcastle seem to put a little bit more urgency into the game. And on 55 minutes, Callum Wilson, nice solo effort from him, from deep midfield, outruns the defence and slots the ball under the goalkeeper, McCarthy, to give us a 1-0 lead. And looks like that's what we're going to get. But Southampton pick up, and El Musi, their dangerous midfielder, is being very busy at this time, and on 74 minutes, glides past our defence to make it 1-1. And that's increasingly where it's going to stay. Then out of the blue, a piece of pure magic from Alan Saint-Maximin on 90 minutes, and it's 2-1 to Newcastle, and everybody thinks, well, that's it. We've got a nice victory, but we were really just forgetting the carelessness of Fernandez again, who upends Shea Adams, the Southampton centre forward, and produces a penalty. Up steps Ward Prowse on 96 minutes, believe it or not. So it couldn't be any later to make it 2-2, and hardly time to put the ball on the spot before the referee blows the whistle. So 2-2 draw against a team we really should have been beating, but we didn't. Referee Paul Tierney, the commentary is very positive and towards Paul Tierney. However, it says VAR was operated by Mike Dean. In the commentator says, in the words of Roy Walker, say what you see. So he obviously didn't like what Mike Dean had to say on VAR. All adds to the colour of the match. We're now bounced along the bottom of the league at the moment, and we're away of all places to Manchester United. Incidentally, the crowd against Southampton was only 40,000, so the Magpies are speaking with their feet, as it were. So we're off to Manchester United, and anything in this match would be a miracle. We've got an unchanged team. Manchester United with a star-studded selection: De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Maguire, Varane, Pogba, Matic, Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes, Sancho, and Ronaldo. Greenwood, of course, the teenager ex-sensation who's been tipped as the next George Best, but he does some fairly dreadful things off the pitch, and he's stunts his growth a little bit, and in fact he ends up having to go abroad to play football at all. But that's quite a strong Manchester United team. However, like everything else, they're there to be beaten if you put your foot in. And for the first half, we would do quite well, doing quite well indeed. And it's a bit harsh that right at the end of the half, on 47 minutes, the ref ready to blow the whistle, Ronaldo gets a free kick and puts it past Woodman from about 25 yards, which is harsh on the team because they'd worked very hard to get it to stay at 0-0. So Ronaldo does the necessary, and makes it 1-0 at half time. After half time, well, we pick up. We don't sit back. Newcastle, to their credit, have a go, and particularly Saint-Maximin and Almiron and Willock with their pace is troubling Manchester United defence. And it's no surprise on 56 minutes when Manaquino, up for a corner, gets a cutback from Willock and makes it 1-1, and it's looking very promising. But then within minutes, 62 minutes, Ronaldo again turns the game on its head with his own brand of pace and skill to make it 2-1 to Manchester United on 62 minutes. Then Manchester, after that, give us the run around. On 80 minutes, Bruno Fernandes makes it 3. And on 90 minutes at the death, Lingard makes it 4. And that's how it stays to the end. So a 4-1 loss, which is a bit harsh, I think, on the team, because they really did play well. And until just after the equaliser by Manaquino, we were in this game. But once we went down, Manchester United just took the game from us. Referee was Anthony Taylor. And the commentary about the referee is always worth reading. A local game for the Cheshire official who last refed us in our season-challenging 2-1 victory at Burnley last April. So, Anthony Taylor, who lives very close to Old Trafford, being reminded of that by the commentator on this game. And so we're now home to Leeds United. Leeds United, another of the teams that's been touted as possibly in difficulty. They've been playing a crazy brand of football, 100 miles an hour, and scoring lots of goals, but letting lots of goals in as well. It's entertaining for the fans, unless you're a Leeds fan, but it's also dangerous in terms of your survival. Anyway, we've got Leeds United St James's, and we've got another big crowd, 51,000 for Leeds, which is not surprising that it's not close enough to be a derby. But I have to say, I know Newcastle fans always get a lot of excitement off the games against Leeds, and there's been some memorable ones over the years, and they're always a bit spicy, always have an edge to them. So we go on against Leeds United, and it's as expected, 100 miles an hour from Leeds, but we resist that and push back. But unfortunately, we get a bit careless, and Rapina finds himself loose in the penalty area on 30 minutes to make it 1-0 to Leeds. But we don't go back there. We hold them and push them back. And then just before half time, a real bit of magic by Alan Saint-Maximin, and it's 1-1. And that's so late in the half, it's hardly time to spot the ball before the referee blows the whistle. Our team is Darlow, Manaquino, Clark, Lascelles, Hayden, Ritchie, Saint-Maximin, Longstaff, Willock, Almiron, and Joe Linton. Leeds, Maisler, Dallas, Ayling, Cooper, Firpo, Phillips, Rapina, Klitsch, Rodrigo, James, and Bamford. And some good football, but for all 100 miles an hour from Leeds. So second half, we wonder if there's going to be any more fireworks, but although it's entertaining, nobody really challenges either goalkeeper to make a save. It's all very rushed and very tight in the middle of the field. So no more goals, and we end up with a 1-1 draw, which is not bad. But with Leeds being a team round about the bottom, bumping around the bottom like we are, we really should have been putting them to the sword, but we didn't. The referee Mike Dean, who last game was on VAR, and commentary this time is that the Tranmere Rovers devotee, which Mike Dean fully admits he is, was in full pantomime mode, 3 times struck by the ball and generally hogging the limelight. Well, I have to say, that's something I didn't used to like about Mike Dean. You sometimes wondered if the match was about him rather than the two teams on the pitch. But anyway, 1-1 draw. They're better than defeat, but with Leeds being in such a bad position, it really wasn't a brilliant result. But we're off to Watford next anyway. That's the next league game. And we, again, this is a team we should be beating if we're going to survive in this division. And we go with an unchanged. No, we have got to change. Darlow's in for Woodman in goal. Otherwise, it's an unchanged team. Watford have their usual 11, Foster, Klitschko, Torsett Long, Cathcart, Rose, Cooker, Sissoko, Sarr, Cleverly, Dennis and King. And they're slightly above us in the league, but not that far above. They're really should be a team that we would be seriously challenging if we were going to do anything and survive in this league. It's a good first half. It's entertaining, but not so that it pushes either goalkeeper very far. But then, totally unexpectedly, on 23 minutes, there's a smart bit of play between Willock and Sean Longstaff, thwart the defence, and Longstaff finishes off with a nice drive on 23 minutes to make us 1-0. And we take that 1-0 at half time, and we're good value for it. There's no way we're bad value. We actually worked hard for that, and we're just rewards. And the second half's going very much similarly. It looks like we're holding our own without any problem at all until 72 minutes. A very bad slip by Clark, trying to clear his lines with a header. He instead of heading it out, he heads it down and straight to the dangerous forward Sarr of Watford, and without hesitation, it's in the back of the net before Darlow can move. So it's 1-1. Then after that, it's a backs to the wall exercise for Newcastle United, because Watford really have their tails up now, and they're going for it. There's a little bit of fight back from us, and it's turns into something of a kicking match towards the end, with Manaquino, Ritchie, and Darlow getting booked for us. Darlow for time wasting, which he was the ace exponent of. Those of you that might not be lovers of statistics are that was the season before this that Darlow actually held the record for goalkeepers for waste the most time during a game, and he managed to get to nearly 20 minutes wasted. 20 minutes in a game wasted by a goalkeeper. Can't be right, but never mind. Anyway, he got booked at Watford for exactly that. And Watford got Dennis, Troost, Ekong, Rose, and Cathcart all booked as well, and got quite nasty at times. The referee was Jared Gillett, who is Australian, became the first overseas official to take charge of a Premier League fixture. And it's fair to say he had a baptism of fire, and that all the other cards testify to that. But he obviously kept control. It was enough to see the match out anyway. So our next game is we're back to an away game at Wolves, and we certainly know what to expect there. They've been playing good football, and are a respectable mid-table team, and people are talking about them getting a little bit higher up the league than mid-table. So we're going to have to be on our mettle to get something out of this game. We go with an unchanged team, and rightly so. The performance at Watford was quite good. Wolves have Josie Sarr in goal, Kilman, Cody, Sassis, Sanamido, Motino, Neves, Marsal, Tranquillo, Jimenez, and Hai Wang. A team of all nations, of course, Wolves, and it's entertaining. It's some good football from both sides, both goalkeepers getting an odd shot save, and on 20 minutes, dangerous winger Howe takes an opportunity to make it 1-0 for Wolves with a sweet shot from the left side. Looks like it's going to go that way at half time until just almost the last kick of the half. Zamelli in the goal, and it falls to Hendrick, who scores one of his rare goals for Newcastle to make it 1-1 at half time. And we're good value for that because we'd matched them quite well. We then go to the second half, and a similar sort of play. We go from lots of end-to-end stuff, both goalkeepers making saves, a couple of shots from Alan Saint-Maximin hitting the woodwork. So there's something in it, but the star of the game has been this Chinese winger Huang, and again on 58 minutes he shows why. Outstrips Maniquino and leaves him for dust, and manages to slide the ball under Darlow and make it 2-1 to Wolves. In fairness to Newcastle, we come back hard at them, and but we don't really ever look like scoring. So it's a 2-1 defeat at Wolves, which is a bit depressing. We're now at home to Tottenham. And this is going to be a tough game for us. They're being tipped to be, in the top 3 at the end of the season, and the pundits are really boosting them, while at the same time really giving us a hard time because we're bouncing along the bottom with Leeds and others, and not looking particularly good. So there's a bit of trepidation about this game against Tottenham. Having said that, the fans turn out in full strength, full house, bar a handful of people, 52,214. I think that's only a handful away from being a full house. The difference in this selection is that the team has been selected by Dave Jones, of course, because the week before this game, the new owners finally, who took over on the 7th of October, have finally got rid of Steve Bruce, and Dave Jones has come in as interim manager. So that's a change. Now, whether the big crowd's the fact that Bruce is gone, I don't know, because Bruce Ball was not getting much of a press by the fans. Anyway, we're playing Tottenham. Team's not much changed. Darlow, Maniquino, Lascelles, Clark, Ritchie, Hayden, Saint-Maximin, Willock, Longstaff, Joe Linton and Wilson. Spurs, Loris, Emerson, Romero, Dyer, Regulaton, Holberg, Skip, Lucas Moura, Namumbi, Son Heung-min, and Kane. You lads out there know him as Son. That's what he goes by. And Kane. They're playing very well at the moment, and we're from the very off. It's going to be a fascinating game. End-to-end stuff from the kickoff, very high speed stuff from Spurs. But the shock comes on 2 minutes when Wilson catches them flat-footed and manages to break through the defence there while you're yelling for offside. Wilson's sticking the ball calmly in the back of the net to make it 1-0 on just 3 minutes. And everybody's getting very excited. On 17 minutes, Dumbelli, who's giving us a lot of headaches in midfield, plays good 1-2 with Son, and on 17 minutes it's 1-1, and nobody can complain about that. Spurs are good value for the equaliser because they're giving us a lot of trouble. and the game presses on in the same vein, exciting stuff, end-to-end stuff, and then on 49 minutes, 4 minutes over the 45 for half time, almost the last kick of the half, Son makes it 3-1 to Tottenham with a peach of a drive from the edge of the area, and Spurs go in 3-1 up. A bit harsh on the team because we've given as good as we've got, but in terms of value, attacking value, I suppose the neutral would say that Spurs were good value for their lead at half time. Second half starts off similar vein, two teams really playing good football at quite a pace, and we're given as good as we get from Spurs, with particularly Wilson and Willock causing Spurs a whole lot of trouble with their pace, and Son and Kane now being well held by Lascelles and Clark, particularly Lascelles, certainly Marshall and Kane, and the game is very, very entertaining. Then just before the end, again Callum Wilson breaks free and being chased by their defender Dyer, and as Wilson lets fly, Dyer tries to block it, and all he does is he makes the ball spin up in the air over him and over Loris in the Tottenham goal to make it 3-2 to Newcastle, 3-2 to Tottenham. However, the last 5 minutes of extra time is quite frenetic because Newcastle really think they can get a point out of this game, and it gets very exciting. It also gets a bit spicy, and Emerson in the for Tottenham, the fullback, gets booked for bringing down San Maximum, and then ours has got Longstaff yellow, Clark yellow, Hayden yellow, Shelby yellow, Joe Linton yellow. Then right at the end, just before the end, Shelby commits a quite nasty foul against Son, and he gets the well-deserved red card. So we end up with 10 men. Referee was Andre Mariner. The commentary is Mariner's leniency allowed Spurs to get away with some appalling play acting of several that would have made Stephen Taylor blush. And he's commenting to the infamous Stephen Taylor dive when he blocked the ball with his body and his arms, and looked like he'd been shot by a machine gun. But I understand what he's getting at. The next game is an away game at Crystal Palace, and lots of talk about who's going to manage the club, who's in, who's out. Interestingly, on the press at this time when this was happening, and particularly on the radio Talk Sport, I remember one particular morning there was a Jeff Stelling thing, and somebody called in, a Newcastle fan called in and said to them that he would like to see a man called Eddie Howe as Newcastle's manager. And it was the ex-Aston Villa forward, Agbon Lahore, who hates Newcastle United, or appears to from what he says. He started a laugh, quite derogatory, so kind of laughing, as if to say, well, what does this bloke know? Is what he's talking about. Eddie Howe's not going to do anything for them. They're doomed. And it was that kind of thing. Jeff Stelling tried to play that down a little bit, but it as you can see, it stuck in my mind, and I thought, yes, well, there's what Agbon Lahore knows about anything. So we're off to Crystal Palace, another team that's not pulling up trees, but so it should be a possible place for us to get something. The unchanged team. Palace have got Guaita, Ward, Anderson, Gucci, Mitchell, Milovic, MacArthur, Ozilai, Gallagher, Edouard and Benteke. Benteke, a very dangerous centre forward. Not the best game, very, very ordinary standard of football. It's no surprise when it gets to half time at 0-0, because neither group of forwards looked like they could hit the barn door, never mind a goal. And going in 0-0 seemed the fairest of all results. Second half, it picks up a little bit. There's a little bit more drive from both teams, particularly from Palace, with Gallagher and MacArthur very dangerous in midfield, feeding Benteke. And it's no surprise on 56 minutes when Benteke makes it 1-0 for Palace. And that looks like it's how it's going to end. But again, some neat play from Isaac Hayden and Sean Longstaff leaves Wilson in the clear on 65 minutes. And we end up with a 1-1. And that's how it stays to the end. And again, for the second game in succession, it gets a bit spicy towards the end, with Anderson, Ward and Benteke getting booked for Palace, and Wilson, Lascelles, Joe Linton and Ritchie booked for Newcastle. So 7 bookings. It was just silliness more than nastiness, but it looks 7 bookings looks bad, but it was handbags at 10 paces as far as I'm concerned. Is my memory. It wasn't that desperate. We're now at home to Chelsea, and got to be on my mettle for this, being touted as possible champions, and certainly going to be in the top 3 or 4. And we have the same unchanged team, and that's fair enough, because we although we didn't get a result out of the last 2 games, the team did play quite well, and should have with any luck at all, might have got something out of it, but they didn't. So anyway, we need more than luck against Chelsea. They're playing real hard stuff, and anything we get out of this game, we're going to have to earn. We're unchanged again. Chelsea have Mendy, Christensen, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, James, Kante, Jorginho, Chilwell, Zajček, Hudson-Odoi, and Havertz, Kai Havertz, who's not one of my favourite footballers. The man is a liability, and has proven so at Arsenal as he did at Chelsea. Anyway, it's entertaining, but and we are giving as good as we got. But neither team threatened the goal at all. And I remember saying to Steve Hasty, was sitting next to me at the match, and he usually does, that from what scene was happening in the first half, if there was going to be any breakthrough, it was going to come down the right-hand side, where they had young James at fullback, a real wing-back, in my opinion, because he was tearing our left side apart at every chance he got, and making life very difficult for Emil Kraft and Hayden. Anyway, the second half kicks off, and it's same sort of end-to-end stuff. And sure enough, on 65 minutes, cutting in from the left side, James, the Chelsea right-hand side rather, James on 65 minutes unleashes an unstoppable drive, which Darlow didn't even see, never mind attempt to save, to make it 1-0 to Chelsea. We don't seem to learn our lesson at all, because within 10 minutes, he repeats the dose on 77 minutes, and James makes it 2-0. And then just to rub salt into the wounds, James is going through, look like for his hat trick, when he's upended by Emil Kraft, and Jorginho steps up and makes it 3-1 on 81 minutes from the penalty spot. And after that, it was all Chelsea. Try as we might, there was never never going to be a dent in Chelsea's lead, because we just couldn't do it. And 3-0 win, and they were worthy winners, and playing really attractive football. So the next game is an away game to Brighton, and we're in the background, of course, there's still all the comings and goings about who might be a manager, who's applied, who's been interviewed, and all the rest of it. But whoever's mentioned, the one name that's constantly mentioned now is Eddie Howe, without there being any announcement. But it was noticeable at the Brighton game that at this Brighton game, that the back of the grandstand, a certain Eddie Howe was watching the game, and so we go there with an unchanged team. Brighton we always struggle against, and the Brighton team is Sanchez, Veltman, Duffy, Dunk, Lamptey, Mapew, Bissouma, Cucurella, March, Lalena, and Trossard, and tidy Brighton side. They always play attractive football, and this game's no exception. They're giving us fair bit of trouble down the wings, and particularly Trossard and Cucurella, and it's no surprise when on 24 minutes they get the lead. March, the dangerous forward, is about to shoot when Lascelles steps in and upends him and gets a penalty, and Trossard slots away the penalty on 24 minutes to give them the lead. However, we don't sit back and accept it in the second half. We come out and really give it a go, and we certainly aren't going to give the points away. We're going to. It looks like we want to fight for the points, but it's another game that gets a bit spicy, and Lascelles, Murphy, Shelby, and Wilson for us are booked. Lallana, Basumi, and Morpay all booked for Brighton, and then just at the very end of the game, when we get a through ball, Wilson's chasing it. The goalkeeper Sanchez comes out and brings Wilson down well out of the penalty area, but still on his own, stopping a goal scoring chance. So he gets a red card automatically, and off he goes. But there's hardly time to restart the match for us to take advantage of that. So, but a 1-1 draw at Brighton was more than I think most Newcastle players would have fans would have accepted before the kickoff. So we come home to Brentford, and the big news is that the very Eddie Howe is now the manager. This is his first official game against Brentford, and 52,200, nearly a full house, which says a lot for the support of the fans. Whether it's a relief because it's the end of Bruce Ball, be interesting to see. However, the background from that is that on the radio, on the TV, in the press, any pundit that's anybody is saying that Newcastle are doomed. That there's no way, if they're where they are now at this stage at Christmas, then they can't survive, and that's the backdrop that Eddie Howe picks up, and lo and behold, we come to this Brentford game. Now, Brentford have been playing well, not going to win any titles, people don't think, but they're playing some really good football. Interesting German manager, Thomas Frank, who's got them ticking and playing some wonderful things. And of course, their goal-scoring centre forward, Ivan Toney, was with us while he was a teenager before he went off to Peterborough. and it's a good game. We give as good as we get, end-to-end stuff. Both goalkeepers having to make saves. From a corner, Lascelles on 10 minutes gives us a 1-0 lead. Hardly time to get to the other end of the field when Brentford get a corner and Tony equalises on 11 minutes to make it 1-1. On 31 minutes, Henry, their dangerous midfielder, scores from the edge of the box to make it 2-1. And then Joe Linton on 39 minutes makes it 2-2. And that's the way it stays till half time. After half time, the game goes the same way, with Brentford attacking very hard and we trying to resist them. So there's no surprise after a huge amount of Brentford pressure that Tomy's going through to score, and the cells in trying to block Tony ends up deflecting the ball past Darlow into his own net to make it 3-2 to Brentford with an own goal. That's on 61 minutes. However, we don't give up. We keep having a go, and then in 75 minutes, a little piece of magic from Alan Saint-Maximin, which we didn't see often enough. You know, if ever there was an enigma for us, Alan Saint-Maximin was it. With the sort of goal he scores here, he could be a lifelong hero, but he didn't do it often enough. But he did well on this occasion. 75 minutes, and we're 3-3, and that's how it stays. And it's a good result for us. So bottom of the league, any point's a good point, but against a team that's playing as well as Brentford were, we didn't do so bad. The referee was Robert Jones from Liverpool. Kevin Friend is the incumbent for this one. Next game is another away game in London against Arsenal, and again they're being tipped to push the Liverpool, Manchester City at the top this season. So they're having a very good season, and to go there is always a challenge, but particularly this season. It's unchanged team. No, sorry, there's one or two changes. Dubravka, Kraft, Shaw, Lascelles, Fraser, Willock, Shelby, Ritchie, Joe Linton, Wilson, and Saint-Maximin. Arsenal have got Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Tavares, Saka, Partey, Lokonga, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, and Amber Yang. Amber Yang is still in dispute with the manager, and getting very public, the dispute, but it doesn't seem to bother either of them, and it's, I suppose, entertaining for the neutral, but they're not. Arsenal fans must be tearing their hair out. They're one of the most dangerous strikers in Europe's being castigated publicly by their manager. It's a good game. First half, some good play. However, neither Ramsdale or Dubravka in the goals have needed to break a sweat, because nobody's shot on goal very much in the whole of the half. Second half, Arsenal come out with a increased pace. They're having a real go now, and it's no surprise when on 56 minutes Saka does a little bit of magic out in the wing, cuts in, and then with his opposite foot and drives into the far corner past Dubravka's outstretched hand to make it 1-0 to Tottenham. However, we don't give up. We keep pressing and pressing, and on the break, unfortunately, young Saka pushes us right back, cuts the ball back from the byline, and on 66 minutes, Martinelli makes it 2-0 to Arsenal. And in some ways a bit harsh on us, but the reality is, it was Arsenal always looked like they were going to get the goals, and that's how it turned out. Stuart Atwell was the referee, and Darren England on VAR. No major issues other than that. Entertaining, but sadly a loss for us. Not an unexpected one, but they did give have a go. My next game is a home game against Norwich. Now Norwich are like us, are being quoted by the pundits as being on their way out of this division, and we've got an unchanged team. Dubravka keeps the goalkeeper's jersey, and of course Norwich have our former goalie Krull in goal, and Aarons and Hanley, two defenders who we know very well, and Gibson, Williams, Rupp, Sargent, Gilmore, McLean, Tuzolis, and Pookie. Entertaining football side, but they're getting well and truly hammered at the back. Norwich as we are, and so there's hope that we might get something out of this game. Entertaining enough football, but no real goal scoring chances in the first half, so it's no surprise at 0-0 at half time. The second half, we certainly pressed them harder, and 2 or 3 times a post saves them, and then just as Wilson's going through on his own, gets upended by Grant Hanley, and we get a penalty, and Wilson stands up and takes it himself and makes it 1-0 to us. And hopefully that's how we'll how it would end. And of course, we're doing extremely well in this game at the moment, because earlier in the game, Clark had brought Pookie down, and ref deemed it being denying a goal scoring opportunity. So off he went. So for a long period, with 10 men, we were hanging on to 1-0. But on 79 minutes, the same Pookie finally breaks free of the defenders and makes it 1-1. In terms of the fact how long we played with 10 men, we did really well in this game, and to get a result at all was something special. And just to highlight the way things were, again, 51,000 at the game for Norwich City. So the fans are coming out to support Eddie Howe and what he's trying to do, and the team are trying to do, but it's not working very well at the minute, and we're still bumping hard along the bottom of the division. We're now got another home game against Burnley, and this is the one we've got to be winning for any hope of staying up at all. We've got to beat Burnley, because Burnley are rock bottom, and are bookies' favourites to go down. We got unchanged team. Then Burnley have Pope, Loughton, Taylor, Collins, Tarkowski, Gudmundsson, Westwood, Brownhill, McNeil, Wood, and Cornet. So there's high hopes that we can get something out of this game, and we set off at 100 miles an hour, and clearly we're up for this one. Burnley resist, of course, a lot of the time due to their goalkeeper Pope saving some incredible shots from various of our forwards, particularly Callum Wilson. But on 40 minutes, Wilson gets a blinder from just inside the area, and it's in the net before Pope can move. So we go in at half time 1-0 up. Second half, Burnley come at us, and for a little while we were rocking, but we went back on them, and although those cement went stuff, the goalkeepers could relax because nobody was shooting at the goal at the time, and we ended up with a 1-0 victory, which puts the smiles on a lot of faces, particularly as we were bumping along the bottom together with Burnley, but it managed to lift us off the bottom. Paul Tierney was our referee, and Lee Mason the VAR man. So we're needing to get results now because we're so angered at the bottom, and we go to Leicester now. Leicester are playing good football. They'd had a good season last season, ended up 4th or 5th, but they haven't started so well this season. So we're hoping that we can get something out of this game at Filbert Street. Sorry, at their new place, the King Power Stadium. That shows me age, in Filbert Street. The decent side: Schmeichel, Castagna, Evans, Soyuku, Thomas, Tielemans, Dewberry Hall, Niddy, Madison, Barnes, and Daka. We go unchanged, and hoping that we might get something out of the game. Starts off with end-to-end stuff. Barnes, particularly, and Madison causing us all sorts of trouble, and Tielemans probing very strongly from midfield. But we resisted and get the approaching half time. Unfortunately, a bit of careless tackling by Lewis, and Madison's brought down in the box, and Tielemans steps up and makes it 1-0 on 38 minutes to Leicester. And we go in 1-0 at half time, but feelings is that we've given as good as we got, as we could still get something out of this game. However, the second half starts, and almost instantly it looks like Leicester have had 2 cups of tea, because they're actually running the legs off us. Madison and Barnes particularly, and Tielemans in midfield. And it's no surprise on 57 minutes when Dakar, the dangerous forward, makes it 2. And on 81, Tielemans from midfield makes it 3. And then on 85 minutes, this Madison breaking through from midfield himself makes it 4. So 4-0 loss to Leicester City was a tough, was a bitter pill to take, because it really dented our hopes of getting away from the bottom of this league. Next, we're away to, having been thrashed 4-0. The last place you want to go is Anfield, of course. That's where we're going now, to Anfield on the for the next match. It's a cold December, and whatever the weather, it's never an easy place to go. Unchanged team for us. Liverpool have got Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Matip, Konate, Thiago, Robertson, Henderson, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Salah, Jota, and Mane. And full of talented side, really attacking side. It's the only way to describe Liverpool. But as typical Newcastle, we set off as though it was us at home. We would take all the early play, and on 8 minutes we get a free kick. And up steps John Shelby to make it 1-0 on 8 minutes. So we're really on a high now, because we're really pushing them hard. But it's not long before Mane and Salah start to give the defence the run around, and on 21 minutes, Jota equalises, 25 minutes, Salah makes it 2-1 to Liverpool. But we resist after that and come back into the game a little bit. And we hold it to 2-1 at half time. And indeed, with a little bit of luck, could have been 2-2, because there was a couple of times that San Maximum came very close, hitting the post, and one just over the top, which could easily have equalised, but unfortunately it didn't. So 2-1 at half time. The second half is a similar vein, but now Salah and Mane and Oxlade-Chamberlain are giving our defence something of a headache, and peppering Dubravka's goal. He's having a particularly good game. So it looks like we're going to get a 2-1, but then just before the end, Alexander-Arnold attacking from fullback position gets a nice solo effort to make it 3-1 just before the end. There's hardly time to spot the ball after that goal, and we lose 3-1. No disgrace, and they did actually play very well. Is the real positive out of that game, if you can get a positive out of a defeat. And next, we're at home to Manchester City, so we're got Liverpool at Anfield, and our reward for that is to come home to a home game against the team that's running rampant in the Premiership. Nobody's getting near touching them. Arsenal and Liverpool are trying, but it's Manchester City's just doing everything right at the moment. We've got an unchanged team, which is interesting, where Manchester City have Edison, Cancelo, Diaz, Laporte, Zinchenko, Rodri, Silva, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Sterling, and Jesus, and a team of all talents. And we know we're in for a game with this team. It's going to be one to we suspect hang on to, rather than be something that we're going to get anything out of. And again, another full house. Despite our dreadful run, fans are keeping faith and supporting the new manager and the new owners with full house week after week. And we set off in this game with high hopes, and first few minutes looks as though we've settled into a good rhythm, but some clever play by Sterling and Jesus, and Diaz runs onto an open ball in 5 minutes, and bang, it's City 1-0 in 5 minutes. We've pushed back and have a real go, and they come back at it, and Cancelo, very individual goal, dribbles his way through the defence and beats Dubravka with a handy drive on 27 minutes. So it's 2-0. Stays 2-0 at half time, and we're trying as hard as we can. But second half comes, it's all Manchester City. They seem as though they've had 2 cups of tea at half time, because they're actually giving us the real run around. And Mahrez on 63 minutes makes it 3-0. And then just towards the end, Sterling on 86 does what Sterling can do, just outwits the entire defence, runs through, mazy dribble, and slips the ball under the goalkeeper for 4-0. So 4-0 defeat to Manchester City, which bit depressing, but on the other hand, the plus side is that they never give up. Newcastle never stop trying, and it was entertaining to see. For a football fan, it was nice to watch because of City's football. But speaking as a Newcastle fan, I've got to admit it was torture. So we've got another nice home game to follow, just to recover from that, against Manchester United. Whoever wrote these whoever wrote this particular fixture list was a sadist, I'm sure. To have Manchester United following Manchester City in any season would be bad, but in a season when City are winning everything before them, it really is cruel. However, we've got an unchanged team again, which is something. We seem to be stabilising the 11 that play for us. Manchester United with De Gea, Dalot, Varney, Maguire, Telles, McTominay, Fred, Rashford, Fernandes, Greenwood, and Ronaldo. A team of all talents, and we set off 100 miles an hour. We're not going to lie down for Manchester United, and we pushed them all the way in the first half, and indeed San Maximum's giving them a whole host of problems early on. So it's a little surprise when on 7 minutes he actually slides through past 3 or 4 defenders to make it 1-0 on 7 minutes. And we're doing well, we're playing well. And they're certainly not troubling with the back. Dubravka's not having to make many saves. So it's a good start for it. And to go in 1-0 at half time, if you'd asked anybody in the crowd, would that be all right? They would have said, took your hand up and said, yes, please, let's have it. Second half, Manchester United come out with all guns blazing, picked up the pace quite a bit, but we're managing to hold them. I've got to say, my memory is that Lascelles had a magnificent game in this one, and held them almost single-handed at times when they were on the rampage. We got to 71 minutes, and just before that, just after half-time, Cavani had come on for Greenwood, and Cavani managed to slip the ball under Dubravka and to make it 1-1. After that, it was back to the walls for Newcastle, because they really were having a go. Got a bit spicy. Ronaldo, Fernandes, and Maguire booked for Manchester United. Kraft, Joelinton, and Manquino booked for Newcastle. And some of it just for stupidity. I mean, Ronaldo, I remember, he was just mouthing off, and for Maguire for putting his hands up and pushing and shoving, and Fernandes, I think, for simulation, which won't surprise a lot of people. It's a habit he's still got. Craig Pawson was the referee, and Peter Banks as the VAR man. But a point against Manchester United was something most of us would have taken long before the kickoff. And we're now into FA Cup 4th round against Cambridge United at home. And Cambridge United, 52,000 crowd. Same sort of crowd against Manchester United, Manchester City. So quite evidence that the supporter backing the new manager, backing the new owners for a game like this. And a one which it would be nice if we could have a run in the cup. But I certainly, along with many others, were slightly concerned that that would be taken seriously enough. Well, we did. Since the manager played a fairly strong team, he brought in our new signing from Spain, who had been persuaded by the owners to come and join us, Kieran Trippier, and it looked like a very strong team. And first half we were doing well, but what we couldn't hit the back of the net for anything. It was almost as though it was blocked up. The ball wouldn't go in, or their goalkeeper played out of his skin, one or the other. So 0-0 at half time, and we were looking like it was going to be the same thing for the second half. But they had a big centre forward called Ironside by name, Ironside by nature. he was built like the proverbial brick house, and was knocking Kraft, Shaw, Ritchie, anybody else that got anywhere near him off the ball with ease. And he was left unmarked on the edge of the box, and in true centre forward style, pivoted it on his left foot, hit it low on it with his right foot, and it was underneath Dubravka before Dubravka could move. So we're 1-0 down in 56 minutes. And so we've now got backs to the wall operation from Cambridge and frenetic attacking from us. But attack as we liked, there was no way we could break them down. Their goalkeeper was fantastic when he needed to be. We were missing sitters and every opportunity that was coming, we were just squandering it. It was a nightmare, and ended up 1-0, and our sojourn into the FA Cup was over and done with. And another giant killing story for the BBC to torture us with for the next 20 years. There was, it's so disappointing, but there was some good things in it. But to lose to Cambridge was really something. It was really disappointing, and end of FA Cup dreams for another year. We're now into January, and again, pundits are now saying that no team in our position at this stage of the year has ever survived relegation, and that Eddie Howe's team are doomed. There's no way we're going to get out of the mess that we're in. So just to start off the new year with a home game against Watford, a team that would do 1-1 with it earlier in the year at Watford. We've got a slightly changed team: Dubravka, Trippier, Dummett, Lascelles, Shaw, Shelby, Joelinton, Sean Longstaff, Chris Wood has now been brought in, Alan Saint-Maximin, Fraser. Watford have got Foster, Nagala, Cathcart, Samir, Kamara, Kimembe, Sissoko, Kucha, Dennis, King, and Pedro. And we set off with this game quite determined. There's a lot of good play, but as in so many of our games, both goalkeepers could just have left their gloves in the dressing room, as they're not going to get dirty in this match. No real goal threat from either team. Lots of decent midfield play, but that's all it is. There's no real threat on goal. However, just after half time, there's some nice play between Wood and Joelinton, and the final ball through is picked up by Alan Saint-Maximin, who makes it 1-0 for Newcastle on 49 minutes. And everybody thinks, oh, well, there's 3 points on the way. And that's what it looks like. We're coasting towards the end. And unfortunately, coasting too much, because on 88 minutes, a couple of minutes from the end, Watford's Pedro picks up a loose ball and fires in a thunderbolt from the edge of the box, and Dubravka's just nowhere to be seen. And it's 1-1. So we start that new year with a 1-1 draw against Watford. We're now off to Leeds, an away game, which is always a difficult one, but a one which we sometimes get something out of, and we need something out of this now. They're as bad as we are in terms of league position. So it's an old-fashioned 6-pointer in many ways, as they call it. And we go with an unchanged team, and everybody realizing what a great buy Trippier has been. He's shown his class when he on the field, and starting to show his class off the field as a sort of dressing room leader and so on. So anyway, we go to Leeds, and it's blood and thunder stuff, end to end. Lots of chances, but nobody takes them. The near misses for Wood and Fraser, and for Harrison and James and Rodrigo for Leeds. But it ends up 0-0 at half time without any surprise. And second half goes the same way. Some frenetic stuff from Leeds to try and get on the scorecard, but they don't trouble Dubravka that much, and we don't seem to be worrying Meisler and their goal. And it looks as though it's dribbling out to a 0-0. Then on 75 minutes, John Joe Shelby is gifted a free kick, and lo and behold, it ends up in the back of the net for a 1-0 victory, a 1-0 to Newcastle. And we're able to play the game out that way and get a 1-0 victory, which is, as I say, it was worth it in a game that's a 6-pointer. And the faithful begin to think, well, despite everybody in that dog saying we're out, that's an important 3 points for us. And the next game is at home to Everton. Everton aren't great shakes, but we should have a game against them. Before we played Everton on the Friday night, we had a friendly match against an Israeli team, Al Hadiyad, who are visiting the country, and beat them 2-1. So on the Everton match is on a Tuesday, which at home, and interestingly, 52 full house, 52,200, and again, the Magpies showing their support for the new owners and the new manager. So Everton come with high hopes of points, with Pickford, Mina, Keane, Holgate, Coleman, Allen, Gomez, Richarlison, Gray, Gordon, and Townsend. And we've got nearly let's read it. Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Lascelles, Target, who've been brought in from Aston Villa, Fraser, Sheffield, Shelby, Willock, Joe Linton, San Maximum, and Wood. And it's a decent enough start to both teams having a go, with Dubravka and Pickford having to do some work in the first half. The odd thing is that in the first half is that they go ahead on 36 minutes with the Lascelles own goal, which is a deflection from a Gordon shot. And we equalise with a Holgate own goal on 37 minutes from a Chris Wood shot. We go in 1-1 at half time, fairly satisfied with that, because we've given a good account of ourselves. Second half, don't know what Eddie Howe's putting that tea, but Newcastle are a different team. Given Everton the run around, really giving them a hard time. No surprise on 56 minutes when Fraser gets a goal, running in from the inside right channel, and then on 80 minutes we got a free kick on the edge of the area, just outside the area, and up steps Mr. Trippier to show us his dead ball skills to make it 3-1, and with a great deal of sighs of relief around the ground at yet another victory in our bag, to see if we can get off that bottom spot. Anthony Taylor, our referee, but a good win and playing well as well. That's the other thing. We very quickly follow Everton with the home game against Aston Villa. Aston Villa are knocking about the top end of the league rather than the bottom like us. So it's not going to be the easiest of games. So we play Martinez, Aston Villa, Martinez, Cash, Dingy, Mings. Dingy was with Everton, and we tried to buy him, and he wouldn't come. So he went to Aston Villa, and when he went to Aston Villa, we brought Mac Target to Newcastle, which was interesting, but didn't make him a fan's favourite, that's for sure. So Dingy, Mings, Chamberlain, Louise, McGinn, David Luiz. I don't know how many clubs he's had. He must be a billionaire on his signing on things he's had. McGinn, Ramsey, Buadina, Watkins, and Coutinho. Coutinho is the former Liverpool midfielder, great player who went to Spain, and Villa threw a lot of money his way, and he came back to the Premier League. For a while, he was good, a really good footballer. But whether the gamble paid off, as only Villa could tell you the answer to that. Games are going quite well, end-to-end stuff in the first half, and but neither goalkeeper really having to do very much. And then Newcastle fans get excited because we get a free kick on the edge of the area and right in Trippier range, and sure enough, bang, it's 1-0 to Newcastle on 35 minutes. And we're really giving it a go after that and troubling Aston Villa. San Maximum and Willock, particularly, their pace is troubling Villa, as is Shelby's through balls or turning the defence in a way in which is upsetting them. We get the second half, good football, but again, nobody's threatening any goals. It's both goalkeepers are hardly troubled, and we look as though we're a different side at the moment, and holding on to this 1-0 hasn't been a backs to the wall thing. It's been quite a steady thing, been quite a good piece of play, in the sense that we weren't hanging on with our fingernails. We actually played our way out of trouble. Gets a bit spicy towards the end, largely because of McGinn of Villa having a go at anything that moved. So he gets booked, Louise gets booked, Bailey gets booked, their substitute. Ramsey gets booked. And for us, Joe Linton, Byrne, and Shelby. We brought Dan Byrne in from Brighton, and he proven to be a solid defender, but also well capable of looking after himself against the likes of McGinn, who was, as I say, was kicking everything that moved. Craig Pawson is the referee, and Paul Tierney the VAR man. So now at a reasonable set of results where we're actually getting this stage of that we might actually get out of the bottom three, and people didn't give us that chance. We're going away to West Ham now. Always a difficult game, but we've had to be on our mettle for this one, and we go with an unchanged team. Oh, sorry, no, we don't. We've got a change in Trippier's injured his foot, and Kraft comes in for Trippier. West Ham are Fabianski, Fredericks, Cresswell, Dawson, Zuma, Suchek, Rice, Bowen, Berryama, Fornals, and Antonio. And being tipped for big things, West Ham. So they're not going to lie down and let us take the points. We're going to have to go for it if we want them. And it's a fascinating game. Very cagey in the first half. All midfield. A couple of chances come. The first one on 32 minutes off a corner, and Dawson West Ham centre back heads them in the lead. After that, it's back to midfield battle. And then just on half time, Joe Willock outpaces the West Ham defence to make it 1-1 right on the half time whistle. And it's not been the best of halves, but at least we're given as good as we get and don't look like we're throwing it away. Second half is the pace is up a little bit, but it's entertaining. But nobody threatens the two goalkeepers, and it looks inevitable that it'll end 1-1, which it does, which is another great point and another game in which we've gone through where we're not beaten, which is incredible considering what we've been going through. The next game is another one in London on Saturday. It's at Brentford. Brentford playing well, and where they're not tipped to win anything, they are certainly tipped to beat us in this game. We have the same unchanged team because Kraft's still in for Trippier. Brentford, Rea, Adjur, Henry, Janssen, Pinnock, Jensen, Nordegaard, Janlet, Da Silva, Mubembo, and Wissa is the Brentford team. And they have a dangerous attacking side, scoring lots of goals. And so we'll have to be on our guard. We've got slight changes in our team. Dubravka, Kraft, Target comes in, Burns in instead of being a sub. Shaw, Shelvey, Joe Linton, Willock, Wood, Fraser, and Murphy. Murphy switching from fullback up to the wing, which is capable of course. Well, we set off at 100 miles an hour. Every time we get the ball, we're troubling the Brentford defence, particularly Wood and Willock combinations is causing Brentford to pedal backwards. And on 33 minutes, Joe Linton takes an opportunity from a knockdown and makes it 1-0. And then on 44 minutes, Willock with his pace outpaces the Brentford defence to make it 2-0. And so we go in at half time 2-0, which I don't think anybody, Newcastle fan or otherwise, would have expected that. And we look like we're cruising against a team that was going to, according to the pundits, was going to give us quite a runaround. The referee was Mike Dean, and on VAR Darren England. Put an excellent 2-0 win and another victory, more to the point. So it now looking as though we do have a squeaky chance of getting out of the bottom three, but still the pundits don't give us any chance of doing anything about that. So just to make life difficult, we end up the next match at home game against Brighton, who are a bit of a bet more a bogey team for us anyway, in some ways. And again, 52,214. My memory serves me right. That's a couple of handfuls away from a absolute full house. So Brighton come, and we've got to be on our mettle for this team. Brighton bring Sanchez, Veltman, Duffy, Dunk, Cucurella, Gross, Azatete, Modder, Lamperty, Welbeck, and Trossard. And as I say, we've got same team, no changes from the team that did so well at Brentford. And well, we do exactly what we did at Brentford. We set off at 100 miles an hour, and before Brighton can get their feet warm, we're 2-0 up. 12 minutes Fraser, 14 minutes Shaw from one of his own inimitable blinders from the edge of the area, Fabian Shaw, following up from a knockdown in the box, and it's 2-0 to Newcastle, which it stays till half time. Second half, Brighton look as though they've had 2 cups of tea, because they turn the turntables on us, and we're backs to the wall immediately. They're pressing very hard, particularly with Trossard and Welbeck, and it looks like they might be going to give us a bit of a hard time. We're all right until they start getting a series of dead balls, and then from a corner on 55 minutes, a big defender, Dunk, who's very capable of scoring goals, gets his head on a cross from a corner and makes it 2-1. From then on, it's backs to the wall. Newcastle have got to defend like steam to hold on to this one, and they do. They do. That's an excellent win, and of course now really giving us ourselves a chance of a survival attempt, with which we are still being denied by the so-called media. The next game is at Southampton, who are in trouble themselves, and we go with an unchanged team. Southampton have Foster, Livramento, Badenoch, Cecilou, Walker-Peters, Armstrong, Ward-Prowse, Romelu, Elanusi, Broja, and Adams. And it's entertaining game from the off. We started quickly like we did in the previous 2 games, and within 12 minutes, Chris Woods put us 1-0 in the lead with a very forceful header, and 35 minutes, Armstrong's equalised, and we've got a very, very tight game, 1-1 at half time. The second half, we actually have a go at them, and our bright Brazilian star, who's starting to pull trees up in the division, Bruno Guveresh, is dictating the game in the second half, and shows his sublime ball skills on 52 minutes with a backheeled volley to make it 2-1 to Newcastle. A very neat and clever goal, but 3 amazing points that actually lift us out of the bottom 3. Something which nobody in football was predicting could happen, but it has happened, and thank goodness it did. So we're away now to Chelsea, and it's they're knocking on the door of the top 3, so it's not going to be easy. But we've got an unchanged team, and Chelsea have Mendy, Chabola, Christensen, Rudiger, Ziyech, Kante, Jorginho, Zaha, Mount, Werner, and Havertz. The game is spicy from the off, and the particular points of clash are with Havertz, their centre forward, and Dan Burn and Shaw at the back for us, and it just goes on like that throughout the match. However, we give as good as we get a 0-0 at half time, and we're not playing too badly. The second half goes in the same vein, and there's lots of argy-pargy every time there's a dead ball situation, and Havertz is very involved with that. And it's no surprise when he's eventually booked. And Zajtek and Kovacic and Rudiger are booked as well. Then Murphy, Guveresh and Gale are booked for us. So there's a bit of all sorts happening. However, unfortunately, on 89 minutes, Havertz is allowed to sneak into a near post position and lifts his studs up and pokes the ball across the line. I think our team were claiming for dangerous play, but they are supported the goal, and so we lost a very, very upsetting 1-0 in the sense that we'd done everything we needed to get a point. Yet the last breath we lost it. So, but that's our first loss in 10 games, which says something. And no wonder people are delighted, particularly with the new manager and owners. The next game is another away game at Everton. Everton always a difficult place to go, but we quite often get a result there. They've bought one or two players in, Dako, Gray, and Begovic in goal as a reserve for Pickford. Anyway, we go there with an unchanged team, and it's a poor game. First half, absolutely awful. I can't remember a shot on goal. So 0-0 at half time is no surprise at all. And it's very dire stuff is the only way to describe it. And second half's no better. Neither goalkeeper having much to do. And unfortunately, as luck would have it, the right at the death, it will be the clever young player that brought from Arsenal. On 90 plus 9 minutes, 99 minutes extra time, he manages to wriggle his way through the defence and make it 1-0 for Everton. And it's hardly time to spot the ball before the referee blows the whistle. A disappointing result in the sense that we did everything to get a point, really. We were equally as good as them. Some afters, Kraft and Gordon exchanged more than handbags. Both got booked. And Richarlison, similarly with Dan Burns, so Richarlison got booked. But Allen, their midfielder, did it once too often, and the referee, Craig Pawson, got fed up and sent him off. So that was right at the end, so we didn't get the chance to take advantage of that. But a 1-0 loss in a very poor game to a very, very ordinary side. But such is life. That's it. And I have to say at this stage, after Gordon's performance in that match and the nastiness he showed in the match at St James's, with him and Trippier nearly came to blows. I was beginning to think this is the wild man from Borneo. What on earth is he doing in football? What a brat. I was made to eat me words a few weeks later, but never mind. So we go home. We go away now to Tottenham Hotspur. We have a friendly in midweek from on the Thursday from Gulf United, a visiting team from the Middle East, and we dispatched them 5-0. Much good did it do. Anyway, our next game is away to Tottenham, who are pushing hard to get into the top three. We one or two changes on our side. Dubravka, Malaquino, Shaw, Byrne, Target, Willock, Shelby, Joelinton, Fraser, Wood, and San Maximum. And Spurs, Loris, Romero, Dyer, Davies, Emerson, Bentaker, Hodgeberg, Doherty, Kulcheski, Son, and Kane. And we go and play some entertaining stuff in the first half. And in fact, on 39 minutes, Fabian Shaw releases one of his thunderbolts to get us into the lead on 39 minutes. The Spurs defender from a corner, Davis, heads them equaliser on 43 minutes. And then on just after half time, when we're 1-1, Doherty, the midfielder, scores a free kick on 48 minutes to make it 2. 54 minutes, Son makes it 3. 63 minutes, Emerson makes it 4. And then on 83 minutes, Bergedwin, who's come on as a substitute for Emerson, makes it 5. So we've got a real thousand off Spurs 5-1. Martin Atkinson is our referee, and Paul Tierney, the VAR man. An off day at the office, that one, because we've been playing really well until that match. On the other hand, it could be said that Spurs were playing very well indeed, so it was little surprise. We come home to a home match against Wolves, and we need another win to keep the momentum going, so we keep pulling away from that bottom 3 spot. So we field an unchanged team. Wolves have Sarr, Bowley, Cody, Kiltman, Casta Otto, Kundal, Moutinho, Marçal, Tricanto, Hichan, and Fabio Silva. And Wolves are well above us, but below mid-table. So it's winnable, is the message, really. And we have an unchanged team with Byrne and Target and so on, keeping their places. On the bench is Almiron, Longstaff and Murphy. It's a good game in football sense, but in terms of goals, well, for the first half, both goalkeepers could have stayed in the dressing room, because I can't even remember a shot on goal. It was so poor in an attacking sense. Yes, there was lots of good midfield stuff and tricky play, but nothing that was goal threatening at all. And it was depressing, to say the least. Second half was slightly better. We did come out and look as though we wanted to win it. And San Maximum particularly, and Guvaresh showing their skills and really troubling Wolves. And it's no surprise when Fraser's running into the box on a nice through ball from Guvaresh, when Cody, the Wolves defender, upends him, and we get a penalty. And Chris Wood dispatches that on 72 minutes to make it 1-0 Newcastle. And that's how it stayed. Wolves never looked like they were going to equalise or even get a goal. So we held firm, which was great to get a win and cement our step up the league from where dismal position that we were in. Peter Banks was the referee, and it's interesting to note that Wolves' reserve goalkeeper was a certain Mr. Ruddy, who we know quite well, as he's still appearing on our bench occasionally. So 1-0 defeat of Wolves was great to get some more points and stabilise our position in the league. Next game is home game against Leicester City, who really gave us the run around at their place. So we're going to have to be on our mettle to get something back in this one. We fielding an unchanged team. Leicester come with Schmeichel, Thomas, Justin, Marty, Suniuku, Mendy, Tillemans, Perez that we knew, Tewkesbury Hall, Lookman and Dakar. We playing good football, but slack in defence, and Lookman on 19 minutes sneaks through and puts the ball past Dubravka to give Leicester a 1-0 lead. A bit of nice play down the right-hand side by San Maximum, a good cross, and who should come steaming in from midfield, but Bruno Gavirash to score a beautiful goal for Newcastle to equalise on 30 minutes. The second half is end to end, and it doesn't look like either team going to have the skill to get a winner. And despite pressing hard, and they come back at us, but we keep going, and then a scintillating break down the left hand side by Murphy, and there's a beautiful cross, and who's there to meet it but Gavirash gets the second goal and the winning goal on 95 minutes, well into injury time. Hardly time to spot the ball when we've got a 2-1 victory, which is great. And it's the Australian Gillett who's the referee, and he's becoming something of a lucky charm for us. It was a good win because Leicester were playing tidy football, and they dispatched us very easily at their place. So our next game is another home game against Crystal Palace, and Palace are a team we should be beating. There's no question about that. We're unchanged. Palace are Guetta, Cheney, Anderson, Gui, Mitchell, Kuate, Schlapp, Olisi, Gallagher, Zaha, and Eduardo, and tidy football side, but they're vulnerable, particularly away from home, and so we should have a chance in this game. It's a decent enough first half, some end-to-end stuff, 1 or 2 goal chances, both goalkeepers making good saves, and we go in at half time thanks to an Almiron special, 100 miles an hour gallop down the wing, cut in from the left, and hit the ball with his right foot to make it 1-0, and we go in 1-0 at half time. Second half is not the same vein at all. Quite a abysmal second half, with neither team looking as though they would ever score again. But the important thing for us is we held onto the 1-0 and got another victory under our belts. Tony Harrington was the referee who's from Hartlepool, and it was only his second Premier League game in his refereeing career. So maybe he'd be a good lucky charm. Kevin Friend was the VAR man. So we get another victory, and we're slowly but surely, taking away any even thoughts now of relegation. We're not even looking over our shoulder anymore. So we now go to Norwich, and this is winnable. It really is the notion around, and I think that's right. We should be capable now, the way we're playing, of giving Norwich a game, and give them a game we do. The whole game was ours from start to finish, and the speed of the ball, a challenge for the ball of Joe Linton, Gavirash, made everybody sit up, and particularly Norwich City. And they had Krull, Byram, Hanley, Zimmerman, Giannoulis, Norman McLean, Dowell, Lees, Rashkia, and Pookie in their side. But we had an unchanged team, which was going well. And interesting how many weeks now we've lost since we lost Kieran Trippier to injury, but the team's still performing well. And the comments in the press are that even though he's not playing. Trippier even sometimes travels away with the team just to be like an extra kit man, which is speaks volumes for his commitment to Newcastle United. Anyway, we go to Norwich and we 100 miles an hour. We're in charge of the game from the off. 35 minutes, headed goal by Joe Linton. 41 minutes, Joe Linton again with a blinder from just on the edge of the box. And then just after half time, Norwich, Tim Krul plays a lazy ball out to Grant Hanley. And before Hanley can get the ball, Goverash has passed him and taken the ball off him, and bang, made it 3-0 to Newcastle. And we just play out the game after that. A victory we hoped for, and a one which was deserved, and really, really was welcome, and gives us such a fighting chance. Well, more than a fighting chance, or well clear of relegation now. Our reward for that is to come home to a home game against Liverpool, and we have an unchanged team. Liverpool team is Alisson, Gomez, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Kelter, Henderson, Milner, Diaz, Diego Jota, and Mane. And no Salah for some reason, but he's on the bench, so we need to keep our eyes open. Interesting game. They attack from the off, and we resist quite well. They're not giving us the runaround as has been in the past. We get a bit slack on 19 minutes, and Chiesa sneaks a one in at the far post to give them a 1-0 lead, which stays till half time. Second half is 0-0 in goals, but what a brilliant football half. End-to-end stuff. Both goalkeepers absolutely performing out of their skins, and lots of brilliant play from all sorts of people, particularly from Salah when he came on, and Goverash for us, and San Maximum when he got the chance to get the ball. The other interesting thing about I didn't say about the Norwich game is that during the game our midfielders were injured, and Eddie Howe had the bright idea of putting Joe Linton at midfield, and history will tell you the rest, because that's where he still is and where he's outperforming everything that you could imagine. So we come home. We go away after that to Manchester City, who've already champions. It's not going to be never easy, but we're hoping that we don't go as sacrificial lambs. But unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. In 19 minutes, Sterling's put them one up. 30 minutes, Laporte makes it 2. 61 minutes, Rodri 3. 90 minutes, Foden. 90 plus 3, Sterling, and it's a 5-0 thrashing. We froze. The only good news out of the game is that Kieran Trippier came back as a substitute and managed to get on for a few minutes before the end, and looked reasonably fit. But Manchester City just were too good for us on the day, and we say that quite a lot in recent years. Stuart Atwell was the referee, and Gillett, the Australian, was the VAR man. We're now at home to Arsenal, a game which nobody expects us to do anything about. We're doing well, but Arsenal doing even better. Is the honest truth, and it's a game. It'll always be an entertaining game, However, we have an unchanged team, and once again Trippier's on the bench for his recovery. Arsenal have Ramsdale, Tommy Lasso, White, Gabriel, Tavares, Odegaard, Elneny, Saka, Nikita, Smith Rowe, and first half's interesting, end-to-end stuff, but nobody threatening the goal. Similar in the second half. Then on 56 minutes, we get a corner, and from that corner, Shaw gets on the edge of the box, gets one of his blinding shots in. It hits White and goes past the goalkeeper in a totally wrong direction to give us a 1-0 lead. That seems to knock Arsenal a bit, and we press them even harder. And on 85 minutes, after a brilliant mark target run down the left-hand side and cross, and Bruno comes charging in at the far post to get his second goal to make it 2-0 to Newcastle. So beating Arsenal any time, and particularly at this part of the season, was quite a fillip for everybody. It was really, really impressive. And of course, before 52,274. Now, if my memory serves us right, 53, just short of 53, is a full house. So that's near as damn it a full house for Arsenal. And why not? They're such a great team. Last game of the season is away to Burnley, and Burnley in similar sort of trouble to us throughout the season, and are actually down as we go to this one. If they beat us, they might have a chance, but it's only a goal difference thing. But we don't give them that chance. We go with an unchanged side, and no, we are changed. Trippier's back in, having recovered from his injury. Otherwise, the team's the same. Burnley have Pope, Roberts, Collins, Tarkowski, Long, Taylor, McNeil, Brownhill, Cork, Barnes, and Cornett, with an entertaining first half. Both teams having a go. Us could play with relief because it's an open game for us. We're only playing for money in a sense. The higher up the table we get, the more money the club will get. And Burnley can play with a freedom because they're already relegated, I suppose. But it was entertaining first half, and no surprise when we went in the lead. What the only surprise was how we went in the lead, and it was San Maximum going through on goal, and Tarkowski upends him, and Wilson scores from the penalty spot on 20 minutes. Second half is end to end and even Steven, and it only looks like one team that's going to score. And on 60 minutes, Wilson on a through ball from Guvaresh makes it 2-0. But then on 69, Cornett gets a blinder of a free kick in and make it 2-1 to Newcastle against Burnley. But they never look like coming back, and the game's actually ours. And a game that ends in a victory in a very appropriate way for us as having had such a torrid season and having been predicted by so many that we would never survive after Christmas, being where we were. Not only did we survive, we ended up in 11th position, which was remarkable, and that really drew to a sort of a 10-run win in the towards the end of the season, when we seemed to be beating everybody. I mean, we passed teams that were better than us. We beat Brentford and Crystal Palace. Even Villa slipped down below us, which was quite remarkable. So Leeds survived by the skin of their teeth, as did Everton, but Burnley, Watford and Norwich went down. And baptism of fire for the new owners, baptism of fire for Eddie Howe. But I would suggest to people who look at Eddie Howe in future, if they go back to some of them teams that I've just been reading out and see how many of those players are still being used by Eddie Howe and playing out of their skin for us week in, week out. That says a lot for me, as much as all the buys that we can do. We didn't buy in this window, we didn't buy in that window. Well, part of the reason we didn't buy was that Eddie Howe was making good players out of the players that couldn't even get a kick for Steve Bruce. And they're still there doing wonderful things for us. So fascinating. And as I said at the beginning, an iconic season as far as I'm concerned, with a takeover that I was really, really happy about, despite all the rubbish about sports washing, which hasn't gone away. Let's hope the way ahead is better. But great start for Eddie Howe, great start for the new owners.
Great stuff, George. A monumental one that today. Over 2 hours of information
Really?
from George. 2 hours, 10 minutes. So that's definitely the record breaker today, George. Thanks
it was just that there's so much happening on and off. People need to remember it, and I've just said it how I remembered it is all. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoy it.
Great stuff, mate. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.
See you, Steve. Bye-bye.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email them beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. You can find them at their website, media-arts.co.uk. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and your other podcast providers. If you want to help support the channel, hit the thumb up, which is the like button. Click share to share to your other social medias. Click join to join the channel. And click the subscribe button. We've also got links in our description for buy us a coffee and to be a Patreon member. Some events coming up. An afternoon with Sir Les Ferdinand, 6th of April, 12 till 4. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. No Covers takes place at the Cluny, Lilac Lane, Ryder and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets from theclooney.com or by telephone in 0191 230 4474. An evening with Steve Howe and Steve Watson, hosted by Joe Allen, takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 27th of June. Tickets for that are from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on the 23rd of January 2026. Box office 0844 246 1000 or website tynetheatreandoperahouse.tv. An evening with Bad Manners takes place on Friday the 30th of January 2026 and tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of the Entertainers 1992 to 1997 Kevin Keegan's Legacy available from newcastlelegends.com.